What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in again. Today we have me and Brent. We're going to share some thoughts on some self-development, things of that nature. Brent, we're just going to hop right into it. The other day I was thinking about, character development and how some people have limiting beliefs, things that kind of hold them back, and how, we kind of hit on it this morning, how, people let circumstances or, basically we all have excuses.
Yeah.
Some of them are, I don't have enough time to hang out with my family after work. I can't do this. Whatever are excuses that just pile up.
I can't go to the gym.
I don't have time. Yeah. And waking up in the morning, it's something that is hard. Like innately, these things are hard to do. And so sometimes I understand why it's easy to have an excuse on things, but I just want to talk about kind of the excuses that we come up with and how we can discipline ourselves and fight past them.
Yeah.
For example, the first thing that I thought of when it came to excuses was definitely time.
Yeah.
People say, it's hard for me to wake up early. It's hard for me to go to the gym. It's hard for me to have a routine. It's hard for me to do. I don't have time to go to the event. I don't have time to be here. And to me, it's time is something that we all have the same amount of, but everyone uses it differently. Like my question would be did you have time to watch TV? Did you have time, if it was a specific item? But when it comes to time, we like to use excuses as to why we don't have enough time to do things or we can't do things. But think of people like Elon Musk. He was born into this world and he has the same amount of time as we do.
He's running $4 billion companies.
Correct. And all I'm saying, my point being is that there's no excuse to not be great.
That's right.
Other people can do it,
and I think
you can too.
You got to establish ultimately what is your goal and what are you trying to get out of life, and then you have to be disciplined in that approach. And I think it's so natural for us as humans for some reason to make excuses along the way. And I know it's something that even myself, I know both of us trying to run businesses, it's so easy to point the finger at other people when you're running businesses and be like, well, they have this opportunity, but I'm trying to really make the point of how can I make things better instead of pointing fingers at other people. And I want to apply that to every area of my life. How can I make this relationship better? How can I do these things? Because it's so easy to say, well, this is why this is happening because they're not doing this. It's so easy to tell, Aaron Rodgers had to play quarterback on Monday morning, but actually getting in there.
Not this year, but yeah.
Yeah, this year, bad example. But it's so easy to play Monday morning quarterback or whatever that saying is. It's so easy, but it's not so much easy to look in the mirror.
Yeah. That's the only place to look. I mean, blaming others or even thinking about, what someone else could be doing or whatever is just kind of it's like an unconstructive thought. It's unproductive. It's just what, we got Dreambeard. He was on our show. He's recording this thing right now. What Dreambeard is doing right now, I mean, it doesn't really affect what I did from 8 to 12 this morning. I can still wake up and do the same thing, whether or not he's doing something or not. So it's just kind of unproductive to even think about others in that and use that as an excuse, which, I mean, I guess that is kind of an excuse people use is I don't know enough people or I don't know,
there's so many, man.
There's just excuse after excuse that we
guilty,
use.
So this is good conversation for me in my life because I think we all, if we're honest with ourselves, there is this potential that we all feel like we have in us, and there's these dreams and these goals. And I think even if you don't write your goals down, you think about them. You think about the life that you want, the house that you want, these things. But then it's so easy in today's world, especially to get complacent and to fall into this trap of, just excuses. There's so many. The time, I don't know enough people. It's too hard. The interest rates are too high. There's so many things that you can tell yourself, or you can look in the mirror and say, these are my goals. How do I start getting to the point of the disciplines that are going to get me those goals?
Correct.
That's where you got to flip the switch is the discipline, that's what ultimately gets you to the goals.
I heard a story recently. It was about Walt Disney. When Walt Disney, freaking Disney World, came out with Mickey Mouse, homeboy had already been bankrupt 2 times.
That's wild.
And he shows up to whatever event or whoever he's trying to get funding from, and he's got a wooden the puppet, Mickey Mouse, and he did the voice. So he's Mickey Mouse talking, and he's like, wouldn't that be a great idea for a silent during your movie? And they were all like, no, that's stupid. And
now-
like, what if he had given up?
And
You
now
know?
Walt Disney World
Yeah, like
happened.
literally, I've never looked it up. I haven't listened to the books. I've seen the Bob Igor. I think I've listened to some of it, but like, I don't know what Walt Disney's family is worth. But like, just think if he would have given up right then. We all have that potential you're talking about. If
Yeah.
we don't use excuses, like we can all get there. It's not an overnight process, but we can all get to where we want to be if we limit these excuses and therefore limit our limiting beliefs. Like, stop telling ourselves why we can't do something. And start asking, what if I did make this change? What would that look like? Or, what if I do become, get in better shape? Like, what if I do start working out instead of like, I can't?
Correct.
What if, another area where I see a lot of people making excuses. So there's time. And then the next one is money. Money is one I wrote down while I was thinking about this. And, a lot of people like to use money as an excuse, but if you guys listen, I don't know how much content you listen to, this might be one of 7 podcasts you listen to weekly, but the people that I've listened to that are all like multimillionaires, they say that eventually like the money and stuff doesn't even buy happiness anymore. Like, I was listening to a guy the other day and he was like, yeah, like it gets to the point, like I bought a Ferrari, I liked it for a day, and then I just kind of didn't care anymore. So what I'm saying is the things in life that are free, that don't even cost money, are the ones that end up being worth more anyways.
That's right.
So
and
why is the money such an excuse? I know we're materialistic, but why do we use it as an excuse to like not start a business or to not, I don't know maybe not go to a college. Maybe you dream of going to a college somewhere and you're not going because you're afraid of, money.
Yep.
Like,
and that's a great point, because I think a lot of times we have a scarcity mindset, and this country that we live in, it is expensive. Like, we're not belittling that, the fact that
and right now it's
inflation.
2023, bro. It's
terrible. It's like probably the worst time ever. Like,
in our life.
We're in real estate, and the
As
interest
adults.
rates are so interesting. I was actually talking to my uncle last night, who was alive when the interest rates were like super high during
like
Jimmy Carter's.
18%.
Yeah, it was super high, but he brought up the point, and I love the point because I think about it often. But when the interest rates were 18%, the houses cost $75,000, $100,000.
But people were also getting paid like, I don't know the exact number. They're probably making, like my grandfather tells me stories, and he made like 65 cents an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
the average income to the house was so crazy.
Oh, the
different.
ratio was better.
Yeah, like you almost could pay off your house in 2 years with your income.
That's
It was like
mind-blowing.
a house is, whatever, and your income's here. But what I'm saying is now it's truly complicated when inflation has went so crazy, while at the same time interest rates. So now you're paying way more and having a higher interest rate. And that's a great excuse for a lot of people to not get in the housing market right now.
Yeah.
But that's where the money's made a lot of times, is when people are running from the market,
Taking risk.
And that's the thing. It's like, whatever your goal is, whatever you're trying to do, and we talk to entrepreneurs, we talk to business minds, but this could be anything. And I think most people, if you're being honest with yourself, you know what you're capable of, and you know that lifestyle that you're desiring. And a lot of times our dreams and our goals are just right outside the comfort zone, right outside that comfort zone of, and what is it like? What do you think separates the people who get over the limiting beliefs and actually go for it? Like, what do you
I think you
that
made a good
separation
point.
is?
I mean, I think that's a loaded question
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, because there's certain things in there like the person's self-esteem matters, the person's self-esteem and self-confidence go hand in hand, but also you mentioned a very key word earlier, and it was self-awareness. Like, I've only speaking from my perspective, but like the people that are successful and the people that you're talking about, like they're just aware that it takes risk. Like the first step is knowing that it takes a risk to do it. Like I just like basically if things were, that's the old saying, we've said it, like if things were easy, everyone would do it. But like also, if you want something great, how do you expect to obtain it by risking nothing?
Yeah.
So it's like, I just don't, I think the first step is they're just aware that it takes risk to achieve something.
Yeah.
And now after that, you have to start taking calculated risk. I mean, you can't just,
That's true.
let's just, it's a really cool story when somebody puts $60,000 on their credit card and succeeds. And that's the thing, like stop telling yourself you can't. People have done it. Go look up those people.
Look up Ryan Pineda.
Seriously, we love Ryan Pineda's content. Like look him up. He had like 50,000 on the credit card. Now he's flipped 100 houses and he's got 3 million on Instagram. He's doing good.
Yeah, he's not poor.
Yeah. So,
And he loves Jesus.
and he loves Jesus. He's a great role model too. We like that guy. So, but anyways, going back to the risk part. It's like, it sounds good to go take your $50,000 in credit and just like go into debt and hope it succeeds, but like take a calculated risk. Do it where it's something that you're pretty confident that it's going to succeed, or that you're so passionate about that you have no choice but to make it succeed. Because it's true too that sometimes when your back's against the wall and you have nothing, I've lived through some of those moments. I'm sure we all have. Like, we all have those moments where it's like your back was against the wall and you overcome. And like, to me, life's not over until you die. So like, until that moment comes, I'm just going to keep trying to overcome the thing in my way, And I think going back to the question, it's maybe just an awareness of that.
I think self-awareness is one of the biggest things. And it's even like being aware that you're making excuses. Being aware that you are setting limited beliefs.
That you're saying that money is tight or whatever. Well, money was tight the year we started the businesses. So like blah 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 blah. Money was tight then, but now you can see that it's an excuse, and you can start changing. What if I made an effort and my whole money game changed?
Yeah.
Like you're aware that you're using an excuse, so you start changing the way you talk to yourself about it.
And then you have to apply principles to now. Once you're aware, that's where it just begins. Once you're aware of the problem, then you have to initiate disciplines to like get you to, and like working out for me is a discipline that I need in my life. Like, I'm not,
it just feels better
going down that rabbit hole because I'm not an expert, but I just feel way better when I actually am active. My body feels better. Manual labor, I can do stuff, and I just feel better. And that discipline helps me in other areas of my life. So that's what I've like actually done an application to my life. Whereas I don't want to make excuses about my health. I don't want to be really unhappy when I take my shirt off. I don't want to do these things. I don't want to live that life. So I have to have discipline in order to not be embarrassed with my shirt off.
Yeah.
And that's applied to every area of your life, whether that's finances, whether that you're unhappy in your job. And this is another point that I want to bring out kind of on this same topic. I want to emphasize the importance of not taking risk solely because you're money driven. Because if what we were doing in our businesses right now, if we didn't have passion and the friendship and all these things that come with it, of like actually enjoying what you do, I think a lot of people say that, but I don't know if they really live it. But there's a lot to be said about enjoying what you do and who you do it with. So I think for whatever reason in our society, a lot of times you think the grass is greener and you want to go start this business venture just because you think you're going to get rich quick. And man, I probably was naive to that too, starting a business, thinking like, man, you start a business and you just get rich. It's hard work, but it's like the most fun I've ever had. So for the right individual, I think eliminate the excuses and dive in, but make sure you're not doing it solely for money, and make sure that the passion's there.
Yeah, and we've had podcast guests that mentioned how their passion was the only thing that like got them to where they were. Like the equipment service guy, he was like, if I didn't have passion, like there's no way I would work on $100,000 or whatever these things are, excavators, caterpillars, bulldozers.
Yeah.
But going back to the excuses, like something that is just good for me to remind myself of all the time, no matter what season I'm in. It's been working since I was in college. It works now. It worked at the beginning of my career. But it's just to always remind yourself that basically the excuses, going back to the excuses, the things you have are all an addition. They're basically the things you have them because of what you've done. You have them because of the actions you've taken. Everything about your life is what you have put into it, and it sits there and is what it is because of what you've done. And if you want it to change, you have to start changing your actions. And if you want to be a better person, you have to start acting and becoming a better person. You can't just like read a book and start, you can't just read one book and become different. You have to apply what's in the book. You have to smile at the people you walk by. You have to shake their hands and look them in the eyes. You have to, communication is something that we are very strong in pursuing in our careers because it's what's helped us get to this point. Like if I never started learning the art of communication, I would never be where I'm at now. And I'm not even where I want to be. I'm really not anywhere. I'm sitting in Powder Springs, Georgia. But what I'm saying is I would never have the businesses or the relationships I have if I hadn't practiced communicating.
Yeah.
And that's just one example where, I looked around at myself and my life and my network at the time, 5 years ago, and I said, hey, I'm not going to let, my lack of time or my excuses. I'm not going to give myself any more excuses as to why I don't know, people that are doing some of the things I want to do, people that are entrepreneurs, or people that are successful, or people that are doing this. And so I put a lot of effort into doing that. And lo and behold, my phone is got like over 1,000 contacts in it now, and I could probably do a lot of business deals just by the contacts in my phone. It's a beautiful resource. And so going back to it, the excuses, you can't let them stop you.
Yeah, you just got to get going.
The excuses you can't. And so another area where I want to talk about people always have an excuse is in their circumstances. You know, if I wasn't born in Paulding County and I didn't have this Southern accent, then I wouldn't be such a whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't in this, or if I wasn't here, or if this didn't happen, or if I didn't go to this school, or if I had been here, well, guess what, guys? You didn't, too bad. It's your life is yours and you're living it. The circumstances excuse is one that I get tired of on the daily, just hearing it from certain people that you interact with and certain people that you're, maybe your customers even, like, you know what I'm talking about if you're in a sales position. But basically, excuses and circumstance is something that will never get you anywhere. And when we have these excuses, we're literally giving the power up. We're saying, hey, whatever worldly thing, whatever excuse is, you can have all the power over me. I'll let you have it. I don't know about you guys, but I want to be a guy that's like, no, I don't want, I have no excuses. I am going to make something of myself. I am going to achieve the goals I have. I don't want to give my power up to others, to the excuses. And so
that goes back to the great Tony Robbins, you know, his whole mindset of don't voice the negative. Like, don't voice those things. If you got a headache, don't voice you got a headache, because you're going to focus on the headache. If you've got financial problems, don't say, God, woe is me, my finances are terrible. How can I fix this? Instead, when you feel that
it's a different question, right?
Yeah, and instead, when you feel that pain, I don't want to voice, and just because the thing is, I think a lot of times we can get in this negative loop cycle to where we're so caught up in the past that we are no good for the future. And that's not
or the
where you
present.
want to be, or the present. Yeah, because the present is where the future comes. And if you're caught up in the past, the future never gets here, and you're just literally going to stay in this negative loop cycle. And then the future you that you're dreaming of literally never comes. And you live a decent life and it's over and you made no impact and that person has regrets. And I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to find, and I'm so thankful over the last 3 years I have taken a leap and found like what I'm truly passionate to do. Like it doesn't feel like work anymore. It is hard work, but it doesn't, when you're doing it the right way with the right people, with the right mindset, it's easy to get through the bad days, and they're coming. Like, you start a business from scratch, it's not easy. It's a dog eat dog world. Taxes are terrible. Things are real out there, and we don't make excuses. We just go do what we got to do. And that's what I want to convey to the audience today, is the power of just stepping outside and going after your dreams, whatever they may be. You may be so passionate about just spending time with your family that a 9 to 5, and where you can get off, and you get off a month, a year, and you can go on your vacations. I think that's beautiful.
Sure.
But I think it's so many people in today's world, I think, live below what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And they have so many regrets.
And that's not a shame if someone's comfortable with that. But all we're saying is that there's an opportunity for there to be more.
Exactly.
Like, you could take 3 vacations.
Every area of your life.
Like, if you don't like one, if you like to do more than one, you could take 3.
And your health and everything. So I think that's really cool. And even, with your finances, one thing, how much time we got left?
We got plenty of time.
Okay, perfect. I kind of wanted to pivot and just kind of talk with, Charlie Munger just passed away. And
99 years old.
I love Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. Like, as a financial, student, I love reading, anything they tell you to read, anything that they do. And I think it's really cool to bring it back around to this topic. He could have easily had an excuse, 70 years ago to not give Warren Buffett, $50,000.
Which is how Warren Buffett got started, by the way. Warren Buffett was like going around Oklahoma getting clients, and then he basically needed money to keep him afloat.
And he's been his partner ever since. And he became a billionaire just from that risk, that you would call it, 70 years ago or 60 years ago, when he gave Warren Buffett some money and went to work with him.
Yeah.
So I think I love Charlie Munger, and so there's a lot of lessons that you can learn from their life and their investment strategy. And, doing the right thing over a long period of time normally pays off.
It's called the compound effect, and it always does. And whether you're making a good decision or a bad decision, if you do it over time, it's going to compound. It's going to become the repetitive action that you do.
And what better area with the excuses? Like, if this is a practice, like Alex said earlier, like, become aware. Like if you're hearing this, like start looking like, am I making excuses in my life?
Self-development is very repetitive. Like we repeat over and over again to basically take an analysis of your life, and we repeat over and over again goals. Goals are something that basically you're going to achieve the goals that you have, that you think about, that you visualize, that you write down, that you go to work on. That's what you're going to end up with. And if you have none, then I'm sorry, but you're going to end up being in the same position a year from now. If you want that to change, you have to think, where am I making excuses? Like at church, every January we fast for, I think it was like a week or two. It wasn't even that long. One item. It's like, I don't know the technical, I don't know if it was for Lent. Like, I don't really know what it's for. I think it's just
like
a
a
church
church thing
fast
that
to
we
bring
do,
them
yeah.
together. This past year, for example, I fasted, just added sugar for 2 weeks. That just means like no coffee creamer. You know, I'm not even a big sweets guy, but like becoming conscious of that, becoming conscious of not eating added sugar made me realize, wow, I eat a lot of added sugar on accident, or like not knowing. Take an inventory of your choices, of your mind, of your decisions. Take an inventory of like how often you do use excuses, how often you do, like if you want to read more, how often do you read to begin with, and what's the rest of your time look like? If you want to work out, what time do you wake up? And I'm not saying you got to wake up, I mentioned this earlier, to be successful. There's guys I know that stay up till 5 a.m. that are making 7 times the income I'm making right now, and they're doing just fine. So I'm not saying you got to wake up early, but where is your excuse? Where can you make a change that gives you an advantage, that puts you in that next, outside of your comfort zone, into that next level? Where can you level up? I ask myself these questions weekly.
That's right.
If not daily, because I want to be the best version of myself. And that's why self-development, it does get repetitive.
That's right.
It's only so many things you can do to make it to the next level.
Yeah.
There's only so many facets of your life. You got your health, your income, your career, and then your family, relationships, and you got God and your spiritual. I mean, physical, mental, spiritual. Outside of that, it's like you just keep leveling up in these same categories. Mm-hmm. But the easiest way to do that right now, today, what can you do right now? Look at yourself, ask yourself, where am I making excuses? And try to put them down. Get in the habit of saying no to the excuses and becoming your best self.
That's good stuff, bro. And I think this is such a good topic as we're getting ready to go into the new year, and we all have these dreams and these, whatever we got going. Because I'm tired of playing games in my life. Like I feel, for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like I have so much potential that's untapped. And I feel like we work all the time and we do so much, we do a lot, but I just feel like there's more. And I feel like, God wants more for me. God wants more impact. But ideas are great, but the application is where the money's made or where the impact is made. What do you actually go and do? Because a lot of times we just sit on the sidelines planning our whole life and we never actually initiate the actual, let's go to work now and put your head down and work. That's where you actually build something great, is when you realize you're aware of your goals, you start making these slow and steady improvements. And it's a practice, guys. We don't have it figured out. Like we have the right mindset, but we don't have life figured out. It's like Alex is saying, it's a journey. It's a lifelong practice of where you're constantly doing these things that seem repetitive, but they eventually get you to where you want to be. And then it's so cool to look back. Like if we look back 3 years ago, just the building we're sitting in, the insurance agency, like the real estate stuff we're doing, there's a lot to be thankful for. But in the meantime, there was weeks where it was like, man, this is hard. This is challenging. My brain hurts. Like, how do we do this? But what I'm trying to get at is just the power of putting your head down and having clear focus and awareness of where you're trying to go is a beautiful thing. So I would encourage you to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. And if you don't have that focus, instead of saying like, oh, I need to figure out if I'm going to be a doctor tomorrow because I'm 18 years old and I'm about to go to college, stop making it so big and just think about the one thing you can do right now to make you fall in love with you more, to make your self-esteem rise, to build your self-confidence. What can you do right now that says, I like me more, I trust me more? Because honestly, I feel like we get our goals or don't get our goals based on how we think about ourselves. Like I think that someone that ends up like never accomplishing anything and maybe they set out their whole life to do something, I think that person, it could be luck or whatever, not luck, but it could be unfortunate circumstances, like yes. But if that person uses that excuse, I feel like they really just never attempted to get out. Like I feel like I lost my thought, honestly, if we could cut that part.
You're
I was
flowing.
onto it, but I lost it.
Well, I got a question for you that came to mind as you were saying that. Do you think your faith plays a part in your desire to develop?
I know it does, but I can tell you from my perspective, guys, because I didn't grow up in necessarily a Christian household, and I came to know Jesus and get really into the relationship with God at like 26, 5, and I want to say yes, my faith absolutely plays a part. Faith, if you read the Bible, it is impossible not to get better. I've said it on the show before. I'll say it over and over again. If you read the Bible, it's impossible to not grow somewhere because you have this story sitting in front of you of an example that overcame something, and you're like, wow, I can overcome something, and it transforms you. But anyways, going back to the question, does my faith do it? Yes, but I already had the desire before I got into the faith.
Do you think it's a different perspective though now? Like,
I think it's the same concept of growth, but definitely it's different. 1,000, because God's involved now. Before it was, definitely money driven and
because that's been a big thing for me. It's like
power, stuff like that.
I've always been driven financially. I don't know why. Like me and Alex relate to that we both, and maybe it's growing up lower middle class. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what
for me now. I have like extreme peace on whether I end up, wherever I end up. I just don't, there's a couple things with it. I don't see how it would be possible for us to work 60 years and not at least make it somewhere out of the like average,
Correct.
Like make it above average. Like we started young, we tried really hard, a long period of time. Like I feel like eventually something's going to bust, something will happen.
Effect,
yeah, that. But then there's also the part where it's like, it's just like that awareness thing. It's like I just am aware that if I had $1 million, that instead of helping one family for Christmas, I maybe could have helped 200.
Correct. So that
drives
was a good
me.
perspective shift for me. Like recently, it's like my faith in Jesus and feeling like He wants us to do a good work drives me to be successful in more than just finances. It's like health, all of these things, because if my health is bad, I can't go on a mission trip to Africa for 3 weeks. Like I can't do these things that I want to do in life. If my finances aren't right, I can't. It's like all of this. If my relationships aren't good, nobody's going to want to be around me. So I just had that question as you were talking. Basically, I think faith for me has shifted my drive. And I'm like Alex, I was very driven for money. And maybe that's why I went off on that riff earlier about don't just do it for the money, like find your passion. But my faith has made the passion for success even greater.
Yeah.
When I think about it.
And I think a lot of that too has to do with like going back to it, but like self-esteem. Because like once you get in a relationship with God, it's like you stop looking at, you still need people in your life. You still need your spouse. You still need things. But what I'm saying is you don't necessarily find all your approval from your friends or whatever you're finding approval from. You're now looking at it like God for it. So it just changes things. That's basically.
And you can find contentment in any circumstance, as that song, Chandler Moore. But anyway,
I could sing it, but I don't know the words or the name of it.
But guys, I love you guys. We're super thankful for everything. We just got done with Thanksgiving, and we're just I would just remind you to apply gratitude to your life, and we're thankful for you guys tuning in to our show.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.